Hello again, everyone. This is Malcolm Brody of Human Vortex Training LLC, based out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, here for endurance athletics. Cycling, running, swimming, mountain climbing, you name it, we do it. A lot of positive response from last time's video. I'm very overwhelmed, a lot of emails, a lot of great questions. I'm going to choose one that a couple of you out there asked. Stan, Jeff, and I believe Lauren all asked the same question. And it said, I know that you talked about balance. Well, what about balance training? Well, here at HVT, I don't usually go to balance training unless we're really dealing with a high-stress period in someone's life, or we're looking at someone who's balanced themselves and they're able to go through a single leg or single limb exercise without any difficulty. So I'm going to talk a little bit about this. I know some of you did notice that I have an Indo board on that side, reverse here. So it's something that I do utilize, but don't get me wrong, it is something that I only use for bits and pieces, because there's a lot more before we can even get to an unstable surface. I know that there's a huge area right now that is going out and saying, hey, you need to do unstable surface training. That's where it's at. You're running, you're unstable through that. Well, if you think about it, are you really unstable because the ground's moving, or are you unstable because your muscles aren't working right? And if you remember last time, our first video that we did here for Ask the Coach was based upon the stabilizing those joints, especially the shoulders and the hips, the two ball and socket joints in the body. And we want to make sure that we're able to hold our shoulder blades back and down. And hopefully some of you noticed my posture is a little bit better after giving that lecture. I said, hey, I need to step it up here, give a good solid week of strength training and being able to go through and really do a lot of those exercises and progress. And a couple of you also asked some questions about the balance and the ability to go through the range of motion for those exercises. So I'm going to touch on that first, and we'll talk briefly about the balance training itself, or the unileg training and proprioception, which is really interesting here. So with the Ys, Ts, Ws, Ls, a lot of you notice that you can get full range of motion, but you're feeling it more in the deltoids and in the bigger part of the shoulder. What we actually want to do, and I hope you guys have a chance to look at the Ys, Ts, Ws, Ls video that I posted on the Facebook page, and I'm trying to get on the YouTube here as well. So the scapula should stay back and down. And I don't know if you know this, but I have a surgically repaired shoulder, so this is my range in my right shoulder, and the left one can keep going up. Using the muscles, we want to use the muscles that are at the tips, essentially, and inner back, holding the shoulder blades back and down. We really want to accentuate that and focus on that. That way we're using the proper musculatures. And the Ys, T's, W's, and L's, and the Blackburn series, which hopefully you guys have had a chance to look at on our Facebook page, really have a lot to do with isolating each of those four muscles we talked about: supraspinatus, infraspinatus, teres minor, and the subscapularis, the rotator cuff musculature. And again, yes, there are four, the ones we just talked about, so don't forget that. A lot of people think it's one, but there's four. That are there to stabilize, and we want to make sure we're doing those correctly. So check out that video that's on the Facebook page this week. It is a client of mine. I've worked with her. She is a runner and a cyclist who had chronic shoulder pain and knee pain, and we've been able to correct that through some very basic exercises for the last 12 to 14 months. She also has some other things going on with her biomechanically, and she's done an incredible job of taking those exercises and doing them on her own and paying attention and not deviating from the plan. And that's something that I really want to stress to you. When you go out and choose a coach, you have to have that trust. You need to know, hey, this guy, this girl, this woman, really knows what she's talking about, and I believe in their philosophy. One of the things that I do here at HVT is I make sure that I have a 30-minute consultation with everybody before I bring them on. I don't just go out and take on anybody whatsoever. I want to make sure that there's chemistry there, and I really can't help that person. And I've been very fortunate to be blessed with very driven athletes who listen, even with recovery, and that's going to be another segment here we talk about. A lot of you asked about recovery. So it's something that you have to have that trust. And by coming back and seeing this other video, I take that you trust me, and you found some value in what I gave you last time. And that's what this video series is for. Is I really, like I said last time, I'm not here to become the best coach in the world, although that's a nice side effect, hopefully, but I'm more here to help you stay injury-free and out in your sport doing what you want. It's not just a season, it's a lifestyle. Your kids see this. More kids are getting into triathlon. More kids are getting into running and cycling. The junior scene here in Pittsburgh has grown exponentially the last 2 years. We went from having 3 or 4 juniors to over 15, and very strong at that. So just something to keep in mind. And check out that video. If I don't have it up already, it'll be up shortly, so look for that for the Y's, T's, W's, and L's. This is someone who's progressed forward and gotten to this point, so don't be frustrated if you can't go through the full range of motion. So, and now on to that question that Jeff and Lauren asked about the balance, and we have the balance board back here. So what exactly and when exactly should we go to balance training? This is something that's a really good question, and I battle with a lot of the athletes that I see. Some people I'll have do more balance training because of things I'm seeing in the run analysis or the on-bike analysis or just in their biomechanical movement screening that I have them first come in and perform. Because proprioception is actually developed between the ages of 5 and 11, 5 and 12. There are different stages, and having coached everyone from elementary school all the way up through Division I and now professionals, I've actually had a chance to see the lifelong development of motor skills, and to see that happen, and to see these kids that I coached in elementary school who are now in college and beyond and working on their masters, able to see them progress and see that balance work that I did. Some of these kids had no proprioception at all. They close their eyes and they fall over. So while it's developed at the ages of between the ages of 6 and 12, we'll say, there's different stages in there again, and boys and girls develop mostly the same, but 1 or 2 are different. It's something that we do want to focus on, but not the way you're thinking of. Balance is also all these small muscles and big muscles firing together with the proprioceptors in your skin and in your arms, and the fluid in your ear actually has a lot to do with balance. Just ask anybody who has vertigo. It's something that the fluid balance, or if you have a blockage, if you've ever had a sinus infection, that can really throw your balance off and you get woozy. So there's a lot of different things that we want to make sure we take into account here before we move on to unstable surface. Because if you can't walk down the street and keep your pelvis from doing this, what are we doing putting you on an unstable surface like a balance board, a Bosu board, an Indu board? It's just not right. And this is my philosophy, and it's been proven over and over again. And the fact that I've been very blessed again with over 98% of my athletes that I've worked with who've gone through and not had any injuries, and they cross the finish line healthy. Ironmen, they have their own challenges because of the mass amounts of training they're doing, but to cross the finish line relatively healthy without a major injury is a huge, huge accolade, and you can't take anything away from that, regardless of what your finishing time was. So as far as balance training, one of the things that I like to look for here is to make sure that we're building up unilateral strength. So we talked about the Y's, the T's, the W's, and the L's last time, as well as the transverse abdominis drawn, the pelvic tilts, the AB and adduction for the hips, and we talked a little bit about the hamstring curls. And what we really want to do is make sure that we're developing a nice solid core, trunk and core, to make sure that you can stabilize your spine. Because if you can't stabilize your spine, that means your pelvis is going to drop, then your knees out of alignment, then your shoulders are going to drop. And for those of you who don't know, if you know about the fascial system, with one of the lines, there's 7 meridians within the body. One of the lines attaches the right shoulder with the left leg. So you think about running gait, it has an immediate impact on things. So we really need to start from the core and progress the transverse abdominis. Once an athlete demonstrates proper biomechanics, and everybody's different. I used to have in mind I can make everybody perfect and perfect biomechanics. That's just not the way we're made. So I now look for muscular strength, balance about a joint, the ability to keep from fatiguing over the course of their training, so that we can get to number 4, and that is being able to do a little bit of balance work. And it's not the balance work you're thinking of. I'm not putting anybody on an unstable surface per se. Rather, what I'm having them do is start off with single leg balancing. We're starting with eyes open. Try and stand with the knees even, stomach drawn in, TVA activated, glutes squeezed and released to keep the pelvis nice and neutral. Knee is even again, and we talk about bending the knee back or bending the lower leg back and then bringing the whole leg forward and then out to the side. And through all this, just the balancing, the hips have to stay level. We don't want the hips to kind of drop to one side. We want them nice and level, holding off as they go through. And once you can demonstrate that, and we start off at 2 sets of 5 seconds each leg, that's it. I'm not going anything major with any of this. 2 sets of 5 seconds holding. Once you can demonstrate you have stability and control of that pelvis and the muscles of the pelvic floor through the exercises we talked about last time, then we look to go into unilateral exercises like a single leg lunge, progressing to a single leg squat, glute ham raise. Is really important. Looking at building you up from being able to do a bilateral or both leg glute ham raise up to being able to do a back extension with one leg, Romanian deadlifts or stiff leg deadlifts. So I actually don't get into the actual balancing usually for between 2 and 3 cycles, if not a little bit longer. And once we establish that, we still don't go to unstable surfaces. We close our eyes because what's harder than balancing with your eyes closed? Nothing. Even if you're on an unstable surface, it's still something that's incredibly difficult to do, and it's entertaining to watch because people stand there and they just go whoop as soon as they close their eyes. So it teaches the body to pay more attention to the fluid in the ears. You pay more attention to your surroundings. You actually can, at a subconscious level, learn how to use your ears and hearing with the echoes off of things to figure out where you are oriented in a room, which is really freaking cool. It's something that fascinates me and I love learning about. So there's a lot of different things that we can do before we get to unstable surface balancing. And amongst those are in sport, working at striders, backwards running, slides right and left, also looking at on the bike one-legged pedals. I use Carmichael tempo, I call them. Their cadence is 70 to 75 for a tempo type effort, and just moving forward from there. So there's really a lot of different things that we can do before we get to the unstable surface. And I'll be very honest, if I pick up that endo board back there, it's a little dusty because it hasn't been used very much. I will use it for upper body because on the bike and the run, I will do some push-ups once someone demonstrates full capabilities for the YTWL or the Blackburn series. But really the answer is look at balancing with your eyes open. Stability of the pelvis is huge for decreased lumbar stenosis, cervical stenosis, arthritis of the lower back. Let's see, what else is there? So many different things that we can decrease your risk of developing neck pain. I can't even name them all. There's so many flying through my head right now, but we can really decrease your risk for developing those if we really work on the trunk strength and the transverse abdominis and pelvis stability. So don't be so fast to progress yourself to balancing or using unstable surfaces for right now. We will talk about the use of the stability ball in a little bit here when the upcoming videos. So a couple of you were asking about how to use that, so we'll go over that. But for right now, start with balancing on one leg, keeping that stomach drawn in, and using that transverse abdominis and the muscles of the pelvis to stabilize so that you are decreasing your risk of injury again, and you want to come in with a really solid trunk. That's one of the things I can't stress enough. So great questions, guys. Keep them coming. I'm really excited to be doing this. I love the response I've been getting so far. You guys are pushing me, and I love it. So keep them coming. I hope you guys are having a great December, and check back soon. Hopefully we'll do some more videos in the next couple of weeks, and you guys can learn more. So look forward to it, and have a great week. Remember, train smarter, not harder, and it's all about you.